Welcome to this month's episode of Chat with the Chairman. I'm Pam Hepburn, CFMA's 2021-22 Chairman. And today I'm sitting down with Joe Harper. Joe is the CFO of Greater Dayton Construction Group. Hi, Joe. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Pam. Hi, everybody.
I'm glad that we can sit down and talk. We didn't really know each other at all before today.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, so it's nice to get
Great to speak with you.
Yeah, get to know you, and it's nice that you're sharing this with all of our viewers too.
I appreciate it.
So let's start at the beginning. I know you're in Dayton. Did you grow up in Dayton, or are you from somewhere else?
I did not. I actually grew up on the east side of Columbus, Ohio, and really spent most of my career there. So I went to college at the Ohio State University. I transferred to Franklin University and graduated. I was lucky enough to do an accounting internship during my college years. And then after graduation, it's actually kind of cool. And how I got into construction was I took a job with a construction company on the east side of Columbus in Reynoldsburg. And they built 84 lumber companies on the East Coast. So in Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, they had a contract to build a number of 84 lumber companies. And the deal was, and why I was attracted to them, was my job was 2 weeks in the office as the accountant, the only accountant, and 2 weeks out on the construction crew, working on the crew. So I was a crew member. I did everything the construction crew did. I walked steel, did the metal roofing, raked concrete, built forms, broke forms, the whole 9 yards, and tied rebar, all that, everything that the construction crew did, I did. And we put up the light towers and worked late into the evening. So it was a fun 2 weeks, but really I love that. I love hard work, and I love being part of the construction crew. And that really lit my fire for construction. I had no real construction experience before that, but it just solidified my love of construction.
That is really a cool story. That's neat to have that kind of hands-on experience.
Yeah, I have scars.
I bet. Probably a really good understanding of safety and all of that kind of thing too.
Absolutely. And really what it takes to be part of a crew, and really a lot of respect for the craftsmen out there. Sure. A lot of respect.
So when did you let's go a little bit further. So that was your first job. Are you married? Do you have family?
I am. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Beth. We've been together for 14 years, and it's my second marriage, her first marriage. So she waited until she was 49 years old to snag me. And I don't know that she knew what she was getting, but she's very happy. We're very happy. And I've got 2 stepchildren from my first marriage, and then 7 grandchildren from my first marriage. So I love being a grandpa and a dad, and playing with the kids and all that good stuff. My motto is I want to be able to be in shape enough to play basketball with my great grandkids. That's my goal.
That's fun. That's a good goal. So when did you get involved with CFMA? How long have you been a member?
So I mentioned the job where I was traveling from Columbus, Ohio to the East Coast and working back and forth. At that time, and I was single then, at that time, my father had a stroke and was bedridden for the rest of his life. So I didn't really want to travel back and forth then. And I was lucky enough that the accounting firm that I served my internship with needed an accountant at that point in time. So I got the call and said, yeah, I'll sign on. That was working in Dublin, Ohio with what's now Ray and Associates. And because of my experience and because of my love, they plugged me right into their construction niche. So that's where I was really encouraged to be involved with the construction organizations in Central Ohio. And at that time, it was the Builders Exchange of Central Ohio and the CFMA. And a quick story about how CFMA shaped my early career. I was tagged as a young accountant to get up and explain the importance of the statement of cash flows to a room full of contractors at the BX.
Oh,
I had 30
boy.
minutes to do that. Yeah, that's really heady stuff. I get up there with no experience and I start reading. 1 minute into the presentation, I can tell everybody's eyes are glazed over and nobody's paying attention. That's really uncomfortable. Like 2 minutes in, I was bored to death. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 28 minutes left to do this. And that was terrible. So I didn't give up though. I wanted to present the basics class for the CFMA in Central Ohio. And at that time, the CFMA took probably the beginning teachers or workshop leaders, and they sent them to a class on how to present. And I remember, I think it was in New Jersey, but it was an all-day class on how to present. And they went through things such as, how do you control your nerves when you're presenting? How do you design your presentation so that you keep the interest of the audience? You hit what's called high points during the presentation, and you kind of plan for those to keep the audience interest. You can do simple things like even changing presenters. That changes the audience dynamic and keeps interest. And then, of course, the do not drive the podium. Do not lighthouse when you're looking. You make eye contact and talk to people. And that, coupled with my wife was a saleswoman all her life. And she drilled into my head the importance of dressing for the part as well. Because before that, I thought that everybody just wanted my knowledge and they didn't care what I looked like. But she really convinced me that when you present, it really makes a difference how you're dressed, and how you present yourself. And people make maybe even a subconscious determination of your worth up there and whether they want to listen to you. So those two things really changed my course in CFMA. And I found my niche in education and kind of worked up through the ranks in Central Ohio and became the president of the Central Ohio chapter in 2002, 2003. And then when I met my wife and moved to Dayton, I became active in the Greater Cincinnati chapter and worked my way up through the board and became president of the Greater Cincinnati chapter in 2018, 2019. And the cool thing is that those early days and lessons allowed me not only to be a better presenter for the CFMA and the Builders Exchange and allied construction industries and other organizations, but it really allowed me to make effective presentations to internal leadership, like at Greater Dayton Construction. And when I was in public accounting, presentations to clients, selling your services, selling your work. So it really changed the trajectory of my career. Very fortunate.
That's amazing. That is really cool. So how did you, I know you're the chair of our education steering committee. And how did you get involved with the National Education Steering Committee?
Well, when I was working my way through the board of Greater Cincinnati, one of the past presidents, Albert Fetters, encouraged me to get involved with CFMA National. He was the Education Steering Committee chair then. And I'm like, okay, I kind of hung on the phone calls at the periphery, didn't really do much. You kind of have your name on there for a while. But then I got involved in task forces. And in the education group, task forces are the doers. So I started to get involved in task forces and met some really cool people who I would have never met before. Got to do some really cool work, and it just ignited my passion. So again, I selectively say yes to other things, and that just kind of opened the door to, not only the Education Steering Committee chair, but it opened doors to present at National. So I've been blessed to present at National with my dear friend Dan Owens, who's retired from Von Lehman. So it's that just kind of igniting your passion, selectively saying yes, and stepping out a little bit that allowed me to experience all these great things. And the people are the great things, really.
Yeah, Yeah, I think the fun thing for me about volunteering on a national level is that you end up with friends across the country.
Absolutely.
It's people you never would have met, people with really similar passion.
And so when you go to national event, you have your Spring Creek alumni, and you have all the people that you interact with, in my case, from the education world. And it's just a fun time. You know, it's like you have, like you said, that you have friends across the country and you have similar interest, and it's great.
It's fun you mentioned Spring Creek and Albert Fetters, because Albert and I went to Spring Creek together.
Wow,
So
that's
I know him.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
small world.
amazing. Yeah, Albert is a great guy.
He is.
Absolutely great guy. He started his own construction company in Northern Kentucky now.
Yep. Yep.
So he's doing great.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I haven't talked to him for quite a while.
Yeah.
So what is the Education Steering Committee working on now?
Oh, we are working on so many things. The good thing about being on the Education Steering Committee or any involvement in the education is you will never be bored. Right now, we've got a number of task forces working. We've got the CPE task force. We've got speaker development. We've got revenue recognition that's completed. But, you know, again, there's going to be some updates there. A couple of things that I'm personally involved in are the update to the CCIFP study guide, flashcards, and practice exam. So we actually have a call later on this afternoon where we are delivering all those products. So that's kind of exciting.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it is exciting because it's been a lot of work. It's a labor of love, but it's a lot of work. And then the microlearning task force. So microlearning is a new concept for CFMA. It's not a new concept in the world, but you know, being involved in that task force, it's kind of a pioneer project, is really fun. And then the big one that's coming up that Mike Ellick is leading is the revision to the book. So looking at the book and going through the book chapters and seeing what needs revision, updates, or maybe a rewrite. So that's going to be a large undertaking as well. And the cool thing for me in this, the kind of the light bulb going on was microlearning. And, you know, I, like most other people, will use microlearning. Like, you know, if I buy a car and I don't know where the oil filter is and I want to change the oil, then I go on YouTube and, you know, put it in, you know, find out the model and say, okay, I'm going to watch a video on that. Well, that's microlearning. I've also got involved with forging knives recently. And, you know, you can thank Forged in Fire. It's my favorite show for igniting that passion. I don't know that my wife would say that. But again, it's the same thing. I watch all the television shows, and then on weekends, I go to videos on how to forge knives. And that's microlearning. The kind of cool thing for Greater Dayton is when I came here, we decided that we wanted to up our game in the Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Excel, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, and there's a product out there called goskills.com, which is a menu of microlearning. It's a subscription-based service. And what we did was we scheduled some lunch and learns. So we would gather the group together. We'd huddle in the conference room, have lunch brought in, watch the learning. We went through intermediate and advanced Excel first. And then the great thing about that was not just the Excel skills, but we talked together as a group to decide how that's going to help us at Greater Dayton. So we personalize that. So that was a real eye-opening experience to go through that firsthand in a business setting and to see those results. So, you know, I would stay tuned.
Microlearning is just like small pieces of stuff you need right now.
Yeah. So the sessions on Go Skills are maybe 5 or 6 minutes with a quiz. So we would go through 3 of those in a lunch and learn and watch them take the quiz together, and then sit around and discuss how we could use that to improve what we do together. And just that synergy just, you know, changes the dynamics of the organization, which is awesome. So I would look for exciting things to come from microlearning and CFMA in the future.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you forge knives. This is something you do in your spare time.
One of them.
And it sounds like you taught yourself how to do that.
I did.
Wow.
Well, Forged in Fire and a bunch of videos taught me that. And then I think my wife got tired of waking up on Saturday morning and seeing me in front of the iPad and watching a forging video again. So she actually bought me the forge and all the kind of accoutrements, the safety equipment. And I had 0 lessons other than what I've watched. And it's kind of cool because the first go at it, I produced a hunting knife that's a functional, decent looking hunting knife and that I can use and that I'm confident in.
Do you have anything you can show us handy?
Absolutely. So this is the second knife that I forged. I forged about maybe 5 or 6 blades, but this is the second one. And so after the first knife, I get this knife done and I'm like, this doesn't look half bad. Of course, your wife has to put it on Facebook and all that good stuff.
Of course.
And so I'm like, well, I can do Forged in Fire right now. I've done one. I'm good to go on that show. So I challenged myself to see if I could produce a knife that would make their parameters. They have certain parameters. And I actually did. I haven't finished the knife, but I did. So this is the blade.
Wow.
And then that actually would meet the parameters of Forged in Fire. And you can see that I've actually forged the guard as well. The reason this isn't finished is I need to weld a little piece of all thread onto the end of it so that I can attach the handle. So I have to use microlearning and teach myself how to weld.
That's the next part of it, huh?
It is. Yeah.
Wow, that really does embody the whole teach yourself using microlearning. That's a great example.
It works. And it works in so many different instances. I mean, when I go into our computer software, into their help desk, they have little microlearning snippets in there. When we're going to change a process for Greater Dayton and I want to communicate that to several people, all I do is use Movie Maker, film the segment, and then send it to them. Say, this is how you set this up or whatever. And it does work. It's very efficient.
That's awesome. So what else do you do for hobbies? You forge knives and you volunteer at CFMA. So what else?
My wife and I enjoy traveling a lot. We like to go to the quieter places. So we like to go to Amish country, and our favorite place is Charleston, South Carolina. It's just a slower pace of life and just kind of hang out and enjoy life. Before COVID, we were very active. Well, we're still active in our church, but we got to go out more serving the community. So we like to serve the women's and family shelter, and my wife is she could be a pastry chef. She could be, I mean, she's a really good pastry chef. So it's a wonder I don't weigh 500 pounds. But she makes like cakes for organizations, for like charitable organizations. And she sold one cake for like $700. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she makes wedding cakes for people for,
Wow.
if they're friends, she does that. So we love to serve at our church. I found when I moved from Central Ohio to Dayton, Ohio, I used to love to hunt in Central Ohio and Eastern Ohio, Eastern. And when I moved to Dayton, not that much hunting, but they do have bike paths. So I've reignited my passion for the pedal kind of bikes. I worked in a bike and lawnmower shop in Central Ohio going through college, and took that to Dayton, and Dayton is kind of the center of the rails to trails bikes. So I allowed that to get a little out of hand. I probably have maybe 20, maybe 30 classic and vintage bikes that I've accumulated over the time. So
that's fine. I allowed it to get a little out of hand.
Yeah, a little outing, but I do love to ride. No, I love to ride. I do the charity rides. We have a Young's Jersey charity ride here that goes from Dayton, Ohio to Ohio Northern and back. And I love to do the charity rides. And again, you meet a bunch of people, and it's just kind of another circle of friends that you have.
So much fun. That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we probably ought to wrap it up, Joe. And I want to thank you. Before we go, I always like to ask our viewers to leave us a comment. So we usually ask a question. And this time we'll ask if viewers would let us know in the comments something that you taught yourself how to do. And we'll review and enjoy those comments. So thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Pam, thank you so much. It's been great chatting with you.
And to all of our viewers, please tune in again next month when our guest will be Bob Bobek. Bob is a partner at Gilmore, Jason and Muller.